Hello everyone, my name is Chris Oakley and this is the Football Attic video blog 5. Now then, if you've not seen previous entries in this series before, then let me explain why I'm here and why I'm talking to you now. Basically, this is an occasional series where typically I take an object, an item of memorabilia from my football collection, and I sit here for about 10-15 minutes or so telling you what I like about it and some information about it and stuff like that. A bit of a show and tell, you might sort of say. Well, on this occasion, we've got something a bit different for you. It's not an object that I'm going to be showing you particularly, but it's a football computer game. A game that I used to own, in fact, when I was about 14 years old, something like that. 14, 15 years old. It's one of those things that you sort of think, nobody else seems to remember this game, and nobody seems to have any details on it. Nobody talks about it particularly online. I wonder if I just imagine the whole thing. Turns out, as I've discovered in the last few days or so, that somebody else does remember it. I've got some information about it, so I thought I'd share the game with you. Essentially, I'm going to be playing it to some extent in just a moment or so. Let me tell you a bit about it. It's actually a game called World Cup Soccer, and it was made by Macmillan software. And it was released in March 1986, just in time for the 1986 World Cup, which I'm sure my co-blogger Rich Johnson at the Football Attic will be very pleased to hear. His ears are probably just pricked up no end just hearing that phrase. It's a strange sort of game in that, well, it's a game and also it's an information source. Like any other ZX Spectrum game of the era, it would have actually been made on cassette. It would have arrived on cassette. And on side A of the cassette, what you had essentially was a database of information about the World Cup. So you could list, find out information, for instance, about the 1958 World Cup tournament or the 1970 World Cup tournament. Or you could find out information about individual teams. So, for instance, if you thought to yourself, oh, how did England get on in the 1966 World Cup? I seem to have forgotten the outcome of that. Well, you could go in and search for that. You could search by England or you could search by tournament and you could find the results there. And it's all pretty basic, a little bit of animation involved, all quite sort of innocent, charming fun, if you like. There was also a quiz on there as well, so you'd actually test your own knowledge. And by golly, you probably would have done as well if you were a 14-year-old kid back in 1986. Very good, all very harmless fun, as I say. But inevitably, at some point, you would have got a little bit bored with that. So what you would have done is turn the cassette over, loaded what was on side 2, and that would have given you a bit more in the way of entertainment, because here was the game aspect of World Cup Soccer. Essentially, I'm going to play it for you now. I'm going to show you what it's like. So let's have a go at that now. Okay, so here we are then. First thing I should probably mention is that I'm using an emulator just to play this on my computer. I haven't actually hooked up a ZX Spectrum. I no longer have my old ZX Spectrum. I wonder whatever happened to that. We won't bother with that right now. But anyway, what you're seeing here is the title screen for the game that appears on side 2 of the cassette that I mentioned a bit earlier on. And as you can see, the first choice to be made is whether you want to use a keyboard, a Kempston joystick, or interface 2. Can't quite remember what that was. I think it was some kind of bolt-on thing that goes at the back of the Spectrum. Anyway, for the purposes of this, we're going to use keyboard. So we select that. And then it says, what do you want to do? Warm-up or play? Well, warm-up is essentially a practice for the gameplay elements that are going to be coming up later on. Excuse me. We'll just dive straight in, I think, and we'll say play. And at this point, it asks you, which team would you like to be the manager of? Which team would you like to manage? And as you can see, you've got a scrolling list and an animated little box there with lots of national team names. We're going to go for England. So once it actually lands on England, I'm going to select that at the top of the list. There we go, England. There we go. So it says, you are the manager of England. Do you want to select your own players or continue? Now, at this point, you have a squad of players. You can type in your own names. We're not going to bother with that because it takes too long. I'm going to be using the presets, which are quite hilarious in a way because, as you can see, here is the squad, and it's essentially made up of a best ever world list of players, you might say. Everyone there from Ray Clements through to Giacinto Facchetti and Ratin, the infamous Argentinian, Liam Brady, Ozzy Ardiles, Pele, Rossi, you name it, they're all there. So that's the squad. And it says that the competition hosts for our World Cup are going to be Belgium, couldn't think of anyone finer, so let's carry on from there. And it says that as the manager of England, we're going to be in Pool 5. So we continue on from there too. And as is fairly traditional for this game at least, there is the structure. You have 6 first round groups and then 4 second round groups, semi-finals, third place and final. So it's kind of based on the 1982 World Cup structure, I suppose. So we carry on, and it says, as you can see, the aim is to reach the final. Well, yeah, who knew? Good luck. So off we go. So here's the main menu that you get, and it basically gives us various options. First of all, it says select your players. So let's do that by pressing 1. And we've got all our squad players listed on 3 pages. Here's the first page. So we've got an asterisk next to the players, the currently selected player, you might say. So first of all, goalkeeper. As you can see, we've got strength, skill and stamina criteria there, all rated out of a 100% possible sort of maximum figure. So I'm going to choose Zoff as my player, and I hit the S button to select, and he turns blue. Onto the defenders, I'm going to choose 4 of them, I think. So we'll have Brightner, I think, definitely. Who else? We'll have Bobby Moore, just out of the fact that he's an ex-West Ham player, and that's my privilege. Let's see on the next page. Have we got some more? I think we have. Let's press V. Yes, we've got Beckenbauer there, not that highly rated. I see Schultz has got a 90 in one of his stats, so we'll select him. And then before it goes back, let's go on to the midfielders. Maybe we'll only have 3 defenders actually. Let's see, midfielders. I'm going to choose Liam Brady, another ex-West Ham player, and actually a good player when he was at Arsenal as well. Ozzy Ardiles, he's got some high figures there. Gunter Netzer, and I think we'll also choose, why not, Rivellino, because I always thought he was pretty good. Next screen, all the forwards. So we've got 8 players selected so far, as you can see, so we need 3 more. I will have Paolo Rossi, good stats for him. I'm also going to go for Gerd Muller, excellent player, and 1 more. I think I'm going to go for Karl-Heinz Rummenigge. So that's our 11 players selected. So we press C to end selection. Let's have a look at the fixtures. Who have we got in our group for this World Cup? And as you can see, we've got Hungary, Spain and Yugoslavia. All right, England v Hungary will be the first game we play. I won't play all the games in this, as I say, because it'll take too long. But I'll show you how the general gameplay goes. Okay, a look at the table as it stands. Of course, no games played yet, but England are top. Let's hope it continues that way. On to the ratings now. We can actually get an assessment of how good our squad is based on the players that I've picked. So if I click 4, it says your attack is brilliant, midfield is brilliant, defence is brilliant. No bookings, no injuries, no players been barred from play. You have 11 players and the expected crowd attendance is 57,085. Well, that sounds good to me on all fronts. So that's good. So I guess we play the game now. So the game is played essentially in 2 halves. Well, of course, it's always been the case. But you'll see what I mean. The first half, all we see on the screen is this scoreline. Now, this is the bit that stuck in my memory from playing it all those years ago. What happens is that the clock will tick by second, and every second is effectively a minute. So it will go up to 45 minutes. And at random points, you'll see players scoring. Okay, now, if it's a player from one of my teams, you'll see his name being listed on the screen. If it's a Hungarian player, you won't see any of those player names because, of course, conceivably this bit of software would have to have the names of every single player for every single country in the world. And on a ZX Spectrum, on a cassette, you're not going to get that. So anyway, let's press the button and we'll start it off and you'll see what happens. And we're underway. Now, when somebody scores, the border of the screen will suddenly look like it. There you go. Oh, Hungary have scored. So Hungary are 1-0 up after about 5 or 6 minutes. When somebody scores, the border of the screen goes all kind of like it's been zapped by lightning. And that was the exciting bit. There's no sound on this emulator, I'm afraid. But basically, when that border went all stripy like that, it suddenly kind of goes... There you go. I have a score. It's 1-1. Ardiles has scored after 23 minutes. How exciting. I say how exciting. As a kid, this would have been quite captivating. Oh, Brady has put me in the lead. Marvellous. 2-1 up after 30 minutes. This is a bit like watching scores on teletext, you know, because there's not much to see, but every so often you would see some new details appear and it would be all very exciting. Now the key is, as the first half ends, I'm 2-1 up. in theory, that's a good position to be in on the basis of what follows, because what you get now is a sort of an arcade thing. There's two games to play. One tests your ability to head the ball in and score as many goals as possible. The other is to see how good your shooting is. Let's do the heading bit first of all. Now, you can see what's happening here. There's a goal. A ball flies in from the left, and I have to move my player using the Z and X buttons to head it in. But it's really rather difficult, as I'm now proving, because you get a split second from when the ball appears on the screen to you actually moving your player's head to meet it. Oh, and here's the shooting bit. Now, oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong buttons here. Oh my god, I'm doing terribly. Now, what happens on this shooting bit, as you can see, it's a bit like Breakout, except that you're not trying to knock down bricks in a wall. You're trying to stick the ball in using your boot at the bottom of the screen into the net, which is moving at the top of the screen. Now, this isn't so bad. You still sometimes get caught out by the speed of things happening on the screen, but nonetheless, you've got a bit more control over this than with the heading aspect of the game. And as with the heading aspect of the game, if you can score more goals than you concede, or indeed if you score enough goals, that manifests itself in the form of the following. And as you see, what it says is your performance in the header section was bad, so your opponents are awarded 1 goal, and your performance in shooting was good, so you are awarded 1 goal. And that's what I mean when the first half ended. Basically, if you're 1 goal up, then conceivably you should go on to win the match, because if I click the button now, if I just click the button now, it gives us the final score: England 3, Hungary 2. So essentially you're preparing to always fail at the heading because it's so terrible, but usually you can get an extra goal from the shooting. So I win that game 3-2. And it gives us all the scores from the other groups. And as you can see, Scotland had a heavy defeat against the hosts there, 3-1. Northern Ireland didn't do much better, losing 2-1 to Czechoslovakia. That dates it, really, didn't we? You see Czechoslovakia rather than Czech Republic. What else we got? Oh, Brazil, heavily beaten by Argentina, 3-0. Spain won 2-1 against Yugoslavia. There's our result there, England 3, Hungary 2. And Italy lost 2-1 to Peru. A bit of a shock there as well. And Cameroon beating Poland 3-0. Well, as you can see, fast forwarding gives us the benefit of seeing how things transpired, and I've managed to get through to the final. Let me give you the results in question, just for those of you that are interested. I beat Yugoslavia 3-1 and Spain 3-2 in the first round. In Pool A in the second round, I beat Czechoslovakia 3-1 and Belgium 4-1, so that's the hosts out. In the semi-finals, I've just beaten Honduras 3-0. And if we click the button here, you can see, if I go into the fixtures, the final will be Austria versus England. So let's have a go and see if I can win the final, just so we can see the thrilling climax of this game. Let's first of all select my players. As you can see, Facchetti is barred from play. He's had 2 yellow cards in 2 different games, so he's out. Those 5 midfielders you can see there, the only 5 I've got, and I want 4 in midfield, so I've got to go with them no matter what. So that's not that's what you call Hobson's choice, I think. And attackers, well, let's see. Stanley Matthews has got 92% skill, but his other figures are low. Kind of the same really for Rummenigge. So I think I might just leave them as they are. Or maybe I'll remove Rossi, give him a rest. He served me well, and let's put Rummenigge in for the sake of it. Who cares? Throw caution to the wind, and we'll select Rummenigge. So there we go. So that's my team selected, and let's see what it makes of my selections. Oh dear, attack very good, no longer brilliant. Midfield surprisingly still brilliant. Defence very good. 2 bookings, no injuries. 2 players have been barred from play. And the crowd attendance for the final, 113,181. That's pretty impressive for Belgium. I didn't know they had any stadiums that were that big. Anyway, it's time to play the match, everyone. Stand by. Let's see if I can do this. Right, let's go. Final match. And off we go. First half is underway. And it's a tense, nervy occasion, as you can tell. Still goalless in the opening exchanges. 10 minutes gone, still goalless. Now I've had, as I said before, Cruyff has scored. Marvellous. 1-0 up. I've had a player sent off already and a player booked twice, so it's 2 out. Oh dear, an equaliser. It's 1-1. As I mentioned before, it's kind of good to be at least 2 goals in front when the first half ends, because you can usually do well on the shooting but not so well on the heading. I'm hoping it's not going to end 1-1, because that's going to put me under a lot of pressure. Oh, yes, excellent. Santos has scored. Oh, no more goals, please. No more. That'll do. Oh, thank heaven for that. So 2-1 up at the half-time break. I'm expecting to lose on the heading. So let's make sure that that actually happens with my poor display. You just get no time at all to react. If it's a long looping cross, you can maybe get on the end of it. It's just a sort of victory, really, just to be able to get on the end of a cross, let alone actually score from it. And I don't think I've ever actually been awarded a goal for my heading. Probably didn't back in 1986. Shooting, it's still a bit frenetic, but like I said before, you get a bit more control over this, and generally I've worked out you get about 9 attempts to score in this shooting section. So if you sort of score the majority on the majority of those occasions, then you get awarded an extra bonus goal. But sometimes it goes awfully quick and you can't sort of catch up with it, really. Bang, in that one goes. I think I've scored every time. It's somewhat unfair, wouldn't you agree, that my net behind my boot goes the full width of the screen, whereas the net you're shooting into is only a fraction of the width. Oh, I suppose it wouldn't be much of a game. Oh, if that was the case. Oh, that's 2 quick goals conceded. Well, I should be all right. I should get a bonus goal for my shooting. Let's see. Performance in heading was bad, so the opponents get a goal. Performance in shooting was good. I am awarded a goal. And that's the final score, everyone. It's Austria 2, England 3. And there's the third place match result. Argentina 1, Honduras 2. Congratulations, you have won the World Cup. Right, so now everyone, we're ready for the big fireworks sequence and all the big celebrations, the big animation sequence here to celebrate my winning the World Cup. And, oh, back to the start again. Oh well, never mind. Well, there you go. World Cup champions after all, eh? Just goes to show that even now, well, how many years is that now? 14, 28, nearly 30 years on, I can still manage to play a Spectrum game and win at it. No wonder they made games like Championship Manager and Football Manager a lot more difficult to play, a bit more of a degree of challenge in those. But anyway, quite good fun. Interesting, there were a couple of reviews that were done back in the day of the game. I think Your Sinclair magazine was quite generous. They gave the graphics 7, playability 8, value for money 8, and addictiveness 8. Whereas Sinclair user, oh by the way, that was an overall score of 8 out of 10. And Sinclair user gave it 6 out of 10, and they said not enough variety to make this game exciting. A World Cup game without excitement is like Miami Vice without the designer jeans, which is probably a fair comment and a beautifully of its era comment, if I may say. But anyway, essentially, aside from that, when you got the game inside the box, you didn't just get a cassette, you also got a nice booklet with some details about kind of World Cup history and stuff like that. I seem to remember that was quite good. What can I say? It's quite a dated game, very simple gameplay. The addition of a database on the other side of the cassette was quite nice and gave you something else to look at. But you know, it's nice from my point of view to finally fill in that gap in my memory, because I knew this game existed, but I just couldn't seem to find any information about it. I didn't know what it was called, forgot all about it. But there it is, World Cup Soccer by Macmillan Software. If you've got any items that you'd like me to review or anything you'd like me to talk about on these video blogs in future, get in touch. In fact, if you've got any discussion at all on football nostalgia, get in touch. You can find the Football Attic website at www.thefootballattic.com. You can also find us on Facebook, and that is facebook.com/The Football Attic, if I remember rightly. The caption will be telling you right now. And also on Twitter, we are twitter.com/Football Attic. If you want to drop us a line by email as well, then please do so to admin@thefootballattic.com. That I think tells you all you need to know. Do get in touch with us. For the time being though, thanks for watching this video blog. Hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, it's goodbye from me.